I greet you all with the greeting words of peace. We say them in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome and good afternoon, everyone, wherever you're joining from across Africa or far beyond. Thank you for giving me this time today. My name is Brother Joe Jax, and today we're going to confront a truth that every platform secretly struggles with, but few platforms know how to solve. A truth that affects your reliability, your churn, your cost, your growth potential, and your unit economics all at once. Simply put, platforms scale demand brilliantly, but they fail to scale partner economics at the same speed. And that disconnect is where margins die, trust erodes, and growth becomes expensive. Today, I'm going to show you why partner economics are the hidden commercial engine behind every successful platform, and how the most stable platforms build predictable growth even in volatile, cost-sensitive, and multi-app environments. This session comes from real conversations, real field learnings, and partners across emerging markets that simply do not show up in standard dashboards. So without further ado, let us begin. This right here is a codified system. It's no plaything. What you see is a codified system, a playbook built from the ground up where traditional models break down. It answers one critical question. That is, how do you build predictable growth when your operating environment is fundamentally unpredictable? And the answer lies here because platforms that will dominate this in 2026 ain't just those with the base demand generation. They are those with the most economically stable partner ecosystems. Everything from reliability to unit economics and to customer experience flows from this foundation. Allow me to reintroduce myself to add more flesh, more muscles, more tissues, more organs, more cells, hence speaking life into the skeletons or into the bones, breathing life into my introduction. My work lives where commercial strategies meet human behavior and where spreadsheet meets street level reality. For a couple of years now, I've studied a question most platforms answer incorrectly, and that is, why do our partners actually behave in the way they do? Not what the dashboard says, and absolutely not what the model predicts, but in the real world, in the field queue, at 10 p.m. during a slow shift, or what happens at 2 a.m. when a partner has to decide, should I take this order, or do I take this order, or go home? And here's what I've learned, and it is the real truth. It is that emerging markets have their own economics. And in Africa, platform economics and partner economics ain't separate. They're identical. Or in other words, you can say they just one and the same thing. And here's something else I've learned is that emerging markets is that partners rather ain't just another operational variable you manage. They are the core of your commercial engine. When that engine runs smoothly, everything becomes predictable. When it misfires, everything becomes expensive. Now that there's life and breath in my introduction, now that there's life into the bones, into the skeletons of my introduction, let me show you the disconnect that's costing platforms millions, if not thousands, or what's costing platforms thousands, if not millions. Give me a sec. Okay. Okay. Now, platforms here, the problem, platforms measure growth. They like to measure growth like it's a fix. More orders, more activity, more users, more orders, yeah, more orders, more users, more trips, more activity. But partners, on the other hand, measure survival. So while you as a platform look at conversion rates, GMV, order velocity, order hour, they, your partners, are calculating, can I pay rent this week? Is tomorrow predictable? Can I trust this platform with my livelihood? When these two realities collide, when survival economics don't match growth metrics, here's what happens. Reliability doesn't just drop. It becomes rationally inconsistent because partners make economic decisions that look irrational on your dashboard. Second, cancellations rise not from bad behavior, but from time optimizations when earnings become unpredictable. And third, incentives inflate as we pay premiums just to maintain baseline supply. Now, this is not an operations problem or an ops issue. It's rather an economics problem that's manifesting operationally. And patterns like opium, they treat the symptoms while the disease spreads. But thank God for today, because today we're gonna fix it, face it head on, up the road. Like we say locally, we say joke and kumut. We're gonna deal with our snake today. We're gonna hit the snake in the head today. That is, like Hiram was hit in the head and fell asleep. We're gonna hit the snake today permanently. Now, let's talk about why. Let's talk about why what you're gonna learn today. Let's talk about what you're gonna learn today. Today we're gonna break down 6 high leverage frameworks. That is one, the partner economics tool, which is a diagnostic model for understanding predictability or for predicting stability before churn hits. Second, we're gonna look at trust micro moments, and these are invisible points where loyalty is won or lost, or where partners decide whether to stay or to leave. Third, we're going to look at zero-cost stability levers, because the most powerful interventions require clarity, not cash or budget. Fourth, we're going to look at the partner health score. This is your predictive early warning system for supply gaps, or a tool or a framework you can use to predict churn before it happens. Fifth, we're going to look at internal commercial alignment, because misaligned teams are your most expensive hidden costs, and they quietly destroy trust. And the final 6th framework we're going to look at is the 7-day activation system. Now, if you can just apply one of these frameworks correctly, evidently, you're going to see stability improve within a couple of weeks. Let's talk about, now that you know exactly what you're going to walk away with or what you expect to walk away with from this webinar, let's talk about why partner economics matter. So let's set this record straight. Let's get this thing straight. Your partners are not supply. What? Yes, your partners are not supply. Why do I say so? Or if they're not supply, what are they? Or why are they not supply? Your partners are not supply because that word supply diminishes their role. If they're not supply, then what are they? Your partners are one, your operating capacity, because they determine whether you can fulfill today's demand. Your partners are two, your margin stability, because their earning predictability directly determines your cost per order. Your partners are three, your service quality, because every customer experience happens through your partners, happens through them. So when you have strong partner economics, you get a virtuous cycle. Predictable reliability, 2. Consistent customer experience, 3. Confidence that apply that leads to planned growth aggressively, and 4. Lower dependency on incentives. But when you have weak partner economics, you get a death spiral. That is 1. Fragile reliability that collapses during peaks. You get inconsistent customer experience. You get ballooning incentives, and you get cost and firefighting. So your partner economics are there for your commercial model. They're not your side metric, and absolutely not an add-on metric. But partner economics are the model itself. Change your mentality and think and treat them, partner economics, as the model, not a side metric, not an add-on, but the model itself. And that leads us to the true cost of weak partner economics. Now here, most platforms dramatically underestimate this, the true cost of weak partner economics, because the costs don't appear in a one-line item. They are hidden across a P&L, your profit and loss. That is in 1. In incentives that compensate for poor predictability, not for driving growth. 2. In support tickets created by economic uncertainty, not by technical issues. 3. In missed orders because reliability drops when it matters the most. In 4, in increased acquisition costs because poor fulfillments drives churn. In 5, in operational overtime managing supply volatility. And in 6, in lower partner lifetime value because we're constantly reactivating instead of retain. Now, weak partner economics are the biggest invisible cost center in most marketplaces, but fixing them is not a cost center. It's in fact one of the highest return on investment you can make. When done right, partner economics, when you do this right, partner economics optimization can cut costs by 20 to 30% without increasing spend or without any extra cost at all. That's how effective and powerful partner economics optimization is. Without out of the way of that saying, now that you know the true cost of weak partner economics and why partner economics matter, allow me to introduce the first high leverage frameworks of the six high leverage frameworks. The first being the partner economics loop. Now, this is the diagnostic model. It consists of six interconnected variables, and it is the most powerful structure for understanding partner stability. Think of it as an engine. When all six cylinders fire, you get a smooth ride or smooth performance. When one misfires, the entire system strains. And I'm not talking about six separate variables because this is about six conversations that never stop happening in your partner's mind. What are those conversations? Let's look at them right away. One, is my earnings predictable? That's earnings reading, seasonality, predictability, consistency, etc., etc. Two, can I trust tomorrow? That's confidence and trust. Trust that tomorrow is going to look like today, or trust in future earnings. Three, where should I focus my effort? That's engagement logic. Active participation versus passive availability or weekly activity patterns. Four, is showing up even worth it? Should I even show up? That's reliability calculus, which is behavior shaped by economics, not by personality, by behavior shaped by economics. Fifth, what's this costing me? Both visible costs like fuel, data, operational fees, etc., and invisible costs like opportunity costs, like a 25-minute drive to a pickup point for only an order to be cancelled, or a partner spending 25 minutes without a ping. Such invisible costs. So what's this costing me? Cost pressure, both invisible costs, just like I explained, and visible costs. And finally, sixth, should I stay or go? Now that's growth stability. That is active, that is long-term retention versus constant churn, or retention versus volatility. Now, these six variables are not independent of one another. They are interdependent of one another. They depend on one another, or they rely on one another. Affecting one affects the whole entire system. For example, weak earnings destroys confidence. A low confidence reduces engagement, which affects reliability, increases cost, and evidently destabilizes stability. But here's the solution. Strengthen one variable intelligently, and evidently, you are believed to strengthen the entire economic loop. The trap that most platforms fall into is that they invest heavily in big retention campaigns, or the trap that most platforms make nowadays, or most platforms make, is that they try to fix retention with incentives. They fix retention with incentives, but that's like opium, treating the symptoms while the disease spreads. But the cure is strengthening the entire economic loop. That's the cure. That's the cure when it comes to the partner economics loop, fixing the entire economic loop, not masking symptoms, not treating the symptoms like opium. The cure is strengthening the entire economic loop, and that leads us to the second framework: trust micro moments. Now, on trust breaker moments, these are invisible points where loyalty is won or lost, or where partners decide whether to stay or to leave. Like I said earlier when I was talking about what you're going to learn to do, what we're building in this masterclass. Now, here, retention isn't lost in dramatic exits. It's lost in these five quiet moments. And these moments determine lifetime loyalty. Those moments are these: one, first date, when expectations meets reality, or expectations versus reality. When or expectations versus reality. Does the platform deliver what was promised in their activation process or in their marketing campaigns? Does the platform deliver what was promised? You promised to earn 5,000, 4,000, 6,000 per week, 3,000, 2,000 per week. Now, for first day, does the platform deliver what was promised? Two, first pick. This is the earning validation test. When demand is highest, does the opportunity materialize? Three, first dispute. This is the fairness credibility test. Is the platform a fair referee? Four, first long wait. This is the patience threshold. Your partner spent 30 minutes to an hour without a ping. What acknowledgement do they receive? Do they get something like a notification, a push notification, or call, or something like, we noticed you spent 25 minutes without a ping. Have you try going to zone B, where you're guaranteed at least 10%, 5% incentive, or 10%, 5% bonus for waiting? Do they get something like that? And finally, five, the first unfair moment. This is the emotional trigger point. That moment they say, hold up now, wait a minute, something ain't right, or this is not right. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but partners don't leave suddenly. They live through market disappointments that accumulate quietly. The problem is that, or the trap, another trap that another trap that platforms fall into is that they invest heavily in big retention campaigns, but not necessarily because that is bad, but loyalty is built or broken in these five quiet moments. When you manage these five quiet moments deliberately, evidently, you manage your retention silently. And next, let's dive into the next and third framework: zero cost stability levers. Zero cost stability levers. Now, this is what changes the game: the zero cost stability levers. You don't need cash or budget to stabilize partner economics, because the most powerful levers or the most powerful interventions cost nothing but clarity and discipline. What are those levers, if you might ask? Let's look at those levers right away. One, weekly operational insights that translate field reality into decisions. Two, clear communication about earning patterns. So don't just say earn more with us, but add here's where and when. Three, honest expectation management during slow hours, because transparency builds more trust than optimism. Four, micro training on reliability behavior. That is a 2-minute conversation about why accepting that order matters. Five, transparent incentive logic. You gotta be transparent with your processes, especially your incentives, by saying something like this: we are adding this bonus because we want coverage here for this reason. And finally, six, field presence. Now, this is the most powerful. This is the most powerful message that's to send to your partners when you have boots on the ground, and that is, we see what you experience. And that is, we see what you experience. So basically, what I'm trying to say here, or the key takeaway here, is that clarity beats is that clarity beats is that clarity is more powerful than cash or budget, and that understanding reduces churn faster than bonuses. So these six levels that I'm just from giving you ain't soft skills, ain't some soft skill for somebody to have, for your staff to have, but rather their commercial strategies. So don't treat these 6 leverages that I'm just from giving you as uh, soft skills, because that's not what they are. They are instead commercial opportunities. I mean, commercial strategies. That's what they are. Hope everything is clear. And let's dive into the fourth framework. Yeah, the fourth framework, internal commercial alignment. Now, this might be your most expensive hidden cost. Why do I say that? This might be your most hidden cost. This might be your most expensive hidden cost. I must emphasize and repeat on that. This might be your most expensive hidden cost, team misalignment. And why do I say that? Check this. Now, what I'm about to say are the most likely goals of your team or your departments. That is, operations wants reliability, support wants reduced tickets, product wants feature adoption, and commercial wants growth. Now, don't get me wrong, because these are all valid goals, they're all valid points. But when these teams are operating with different definitions of value, partners receive contradictory signals. Partners receive contradictory signals. And inconsistency. Like, there's a point I'm trying to raise, or there's a word that I'm looking for. Okay, all right, let's proceed though. So partners receive contradictory signals when these teams are operating with different definitions of value. How? This. Support, picture this, right? Support says one thing about a dispute, then operations overrides it, followed by product launching a feature that contradicts policy, and then commercial offers and incentives that contradicts. I mean, let me rephrase this one more time. One, support says one thing about a dispute, then operations overrides it, followed by product launching a feature that complicates earnings, and then finally commercial offers an incentive that contradicts policy. Now, to you, these are all departmental decisions, but your partner, it's one platform sending mixed messages. And inconsistency is trust number one enemy. In the blink of an eye, just like that, it destroys trust faster than any price change you can think about. So what's the cure? How do you cure this? Know and understand that alignment is not a soft skill. It's an economic level. When all teams are operating on one definition of value, you get partner stability leading to predictable lifetime value, which evidently leads to sustainable growth. So in short, when all teams share one definition of value, costs drop and trust starts to build, or costs start to drop and trust starts to build, or costs drop and trust builds. As simple and as effective as that. And that leads us to the fifth framework. Yeah, the fifth framework, partner health score. Now, this is a tool or a framework you can use or apply starting next week. The partner health score, the partner health score. You're gonna have to rate partners from one to five on 4 basic but vital. From 1 to 5 on 4 vital dimensions. Dimension 1. Earnings stability. Dimension 1. Dimension 1. Earnings stability. That's consistency, not just the amounts. Dimension 2. Reliability behavior, which is acceptance versus completion patterns. 3. Engagement patterns, that is activity consistency. And 4. Confidence indicators, which is dispute frequency, and communication tone. Now, once you gather those results, or once you rate your partners on these four vital dimensions, here's how to interpret and understand those. Here's how to interpret and understand your results or the scores that you have. Suppose you've rated 10 partners, 50 partners, or 100 partners, and you have the results with you, and you have the scores with you. Here's how to interpret them. One, so if the score is 1 or 2, that's high churn risk. They need immediate and targeted intervention. 2, if the score is 3, that means they're stabilizing, but yet fragile. They still need reinforcements. If the score is 4 or 5, now that's where you want them to be. That's a reliable call. Protect them and learn from them. Now, this framework, the partner health score, is so important and effective that it's what changes operations from reactive firefighting to predictive or strategic forecasting. So learn it, master it, apply it. Trust me, within a week or 2, you're gonna thank me later. And that leads us to the 6th and final framework, the 7-day activation system. Now, the first 7 days don't demand the first month. They set the economic baseline for the next 90 days. And this is where sentiment, trust, and earnings rhythms are shaped. Here's the system. Day one. Anchor expectations and reality. You promise your partners to earn up to 6,000, 8,000, 5,000, 4,000, whatever that you promise your partners you don't earn. They want you to anchor expectations in reality. For example, you could say, suppose you promise your partners to earn 4,000 per week. You could say on day 1, as you progress on our platform, you should expect to earn between 2,000 to 200, between 2,000 to 2,500, or up to 3,000. As you progress on our platform, as you progress to learn, to attend our trainings, as you progress to learn our platform algorithms, expect to earn that much until you understand our platform and understand the algorithms, that you're gonna reach that goal, or you're gonna reach up to earning that 4,000 that we promised you. That's what I mean by day 1, anchor expectations in reality. Day 2, platform walkthrough. Platform walkthrough focused on earnings. That is, don't walk them through. That is your partners, everything in your app, but rather walk them through the features, the buttons that are associated with their earnings. Which button do they click? Which button do they click when they want to check how many trips they've done per day? Where do they find the earnings that they've earned per day or per week? How do they track? So basically, how do they track their earnings? How do they track how many trips they've done? How do they track the goals that they want to achieve? Where do they find the float? Such things. Day 2, platform walkthrough focused on earnings. And day 3, pattern training. When and where? When at 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Avoid residential areas. That's just an example. Don't quote me. It's an example. Day 4, phased exposure to earnings rhythm. Day 5, support clarity before they need it. Who did they contact in case of an emergency, and why should they contact that person? Day 6, early reliability coaching. That is a 2-minute conversation about why accepting that order matters. Day 7, right? Day 6, early reliability coaching. Yeah, a 2-minute conversation about why accepting that order matters. And day 7, activation score. Now, day 7 is your day. Day 7 is your day. This is your day that this is your day. What do I mean by that? It's your day that you gotta ask yourself this question. do they, your partners, understand how to earn predictably? Now, here's something I want you to always remember and understand about the 7-day activation system. That is one. That is not one, rather. That is, oh yeah, okay, we can number them, but not necessarily. It's not that important. But here's what I want you to always remember about the 7-day activation system. That is, poor activation means expensive retention work later. Strong activation equals to low churn or to predictable supply. So once you treat activations, when you treat activations, or therefore treat activations as economic onboarding, not as operational onboarding. Because once you treat activations as operational onboarding, you get poor activations. This is where poor activations come in. And with poor activations, evidently that leads or equals to expensive retention work later. But when you treat them as economic onboarding, you get strong activation, and evidently that leads to predictable supply. So treat activations as economic onboarding, not as operational onboarding. As simple and as powerful as that. And that, everybody, wraps up the 6 high leverage frameworks. Here's case study 1 of 2, earnings volatility. Now, a platform came to me with this. Our partners are complaining about declining earnings. But when I dug deeper, earnings hadn't declined. Rather, predictability did. Volatility did. So when we dug deeper, earnings did not decline. Instead, volatility had increased. And with that, partners couldn't predict when they would earn, and so they felt poorer, even though the numbers said otherwise. So here's the solution we applied. We applied the 3 zero-cost changes. That is 1, micro-training on peak cycles. 2, clear communication about low demand periods. And 3, simple zone optimization tips. The result was absolutely amazing, intriguing, because earnings hadn't increased, rather predictability did. And with predictability came higher engagement, lower cancellations, and stabilized sentiment. The problem was not financial, rather the problem was informational. So the key thing, or basically, it was communication. The solution was communication. The problem was not information, it was not financial. The problem was communication, or was information. We just had to share these 3 things. Micro-training on peak cycles, clear communication about low demand periods, and the micro-training on peak cycles, clear communication about low demand periods, and simple zone optimization tips. And that solved everything. Next is case study 2 of 2, trust breakdown. Another platform had rising disputes and partner frustration was at all-time high. In short, this particular platform was ready to overhaul its entire dispute system. But the root cause was not the system. It was instead the opacity around the decisions they made. So here's the simple fix we applied. We train teams on one principle. We train teams on one principle. That is, explain the why, not just the what. So instead of them just saying, appeal denied because GPS data shows you were 800 meters away, here's the timestamp. The result again, marvelous, intriguing, amazing. Because dispute volume dropped. And partner acceptance of outcomes increased dramatically, even when they did not get what they wanted. Now imagine that. Partners accepting the outcomes, even if they don't get what they wanted. That was the result with one simple training. Explaining the why, not just the what. As simple and as clear as that. Now, this was not necessarily because of no other reason, but because fairness is not just about outcomes. It's about process transparency. As we head towards the end now, as we conclude, as we head towards the end, here's six strategic imperatives or six strategic key takeaways I want you to write down or note down with. That is one, diagnose the economic loop first, because stability flows from the system. Two, manage micro moments deliberately, because loyalty is built in quiet moments. Three, zero cost debated levers are your most powerful tools. Remember that clarity beats cash. Four, activation predicts retention. So therefore, invest in those first 7 days. Five, alignment is economic strategy. Misalignment is a hidden cost and it quietly destroys trust. And six, trust is a measurable commercial asset. Track it, build it, and protect it. And here's another thing, and here's something also, here's something powerful and impactful, is that partner economics ain't operational problems. They are instant commercial opportunities. And when you master them, partner economics as commercial opportunities, you master sustainable growth. So thank you for your time, attention, and engagement today. If you want to apply these frameworks immediately, I've created a partner economics toolkit or a template pack that includes the 7-day activation system, the health score calculator, the 7-day activation checklist, the micro moment management guides, and the team alignment workshop template. To get it, simply message me Playbook on LinkedIn. I'll send it over to you as soon as possible, immediately, or as soon as possible. So if your platform is facing economic volatility, incentive dependency, or trust challenges, I would definitely love to hear from you. This conversation is only and just the beginning. Now comes my favorite part, your challenges, your scenarios. What are you facing? Incentive spirals, reliability that collapses during peaks, team misalignment. Let's break it down together. The floor is all yours. Any questions, if you got any, please drop them in the comments and I'll respond to them ASAP. Right now, respond to them right now. Any questions, if you got any, please. Any questions, if you got any, please. All right, so if you happen to have any questions, like there are no questions at the moment, or maybe, yeah. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments, send me an email, DM me on LinkedIn, and I'll respond to you as soon as possible. So before I leave, I want to leave you with this. Remember that sustainable growth won't just come from, I want to leave you with this. Remember that sustainable growth in 2026 won't just come from chasing demand alone, but it's going to come from building that partner economics foundation that makes demand fulfillment predictable. So again, thank you for taking your time out from a busy schedule to join me today. I'm your brother, George X. Let's build more stable platforms together. As I leave you with the words and the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.